Hello, and welcome to this month's webinar from Actio. Today, we're going to talk about how to tie employee incentives with company performance. This is a subject of extremely interesting to me because it's what bases a lot of our work on the companies that we service, right? Before we get into the topic, though, let's do some housekeeping here. First, for those that don't know me, I'm Guilherme Barbassa. I'm Actio's CEO, and this event is sponsored by Actio and Falconi US. Falconi is a consulting company, a management consulting company in the US that has many years of experience and an extremely competent team. Um, Actio, as many must know, is a software company that provides an integrated platform for corporate management processes. So, an integrated platform with modules like strategy execution, performance management, risk management, people assessment, and so on. Well, on the dynamic of the event today, we are going to have um, a speaker. I'm going to introduce her soon. We're going to talk about incentives and alignment with company performance. Meanwhile, while we're talking, you can interact with us on the chat, giving us your comments, asking questions, and also you will find in the chat uh, a link to Slido. If you prefer to put your questions in Slido, we will reserve the 10 final minutes to answering questions. Also, we have the certificate of attendance for whoever wishes to receive that. There will also be a link in the chat where you can put in your data to receive a certificate of attendance. Well, housekeeping done. Let me welcome Mariane Silva, the People and Operation Manager in Falconi, US. Welcome, Mariane.
Hi, Guilherme. Thank you so much for having me here. I hope it will be a great conversation.
It's our pleasure, and thank you for making yourself available for our monthly event.
Sure.
Well, Mariane, uh, companies have to perform, right? Companies have to deliver results, and invariably, for them to deliver results, they need people, right? They need people working to make these results happen. And it's not only results and performance, it's also how you deliver the results. Through what strategy, right? It's not anywhere or anyhow. It's when a company defines a strategy, it wishes to obtain the results through that strategy, right? So, how it's always a challenge to align people with the company's interest of performance and strategy execution. And there's our challenge, our the HR's mission, right, to align people with these performances. So, Mariane, I'd kick off by asking you why do we have to talk about compensation?
So I always think that we need to talk about compensation because first, we all like to get paid, right? We always like our money. We work for a reason, but also has a lot of factors behind that. So we can divide like for employees, why it's so important for us to talk about compensation for employees because of fairness and transparency. You want to work in a company that you feel valued. You want to work in a company that things are fair, that you can find the information, everything is transparency. You want to feel that you're paid fairly for your work, because that you're going to feel a sense of equity and transparency in the organization. Also about job satisfaction and motivation. Like compensation is a significant driver for job satisfaction. Like I said, we all like to get paid. When employees feel they are compensated fairly, they produce more because they are motivated and engaged. Also, negotiation and benefits. When you start the discussion about compensation, you also give the employees the opportunity to speak what they want, what they like, and then you start tailoring to meet everyone's also needs. And career growth for the employees as well, because when it's tied to performance and skills and experience, helps the employees to make more informed like decisions if that's the company that they want to continue, how they want to go in the company. But also when we look for the employer side, why it's so important also to talk about compensation. It's one, the most subject that we talk nowadays is attraction and retention of talent. So competitive compensation package help employers attract and retain top talents. Performance alignment. Compensation can be structured to align with company goals. And then we know what you need to deliver. And it's clear for the employees what they need to deliver and how they're going to be compensated for that. For employers also helps because of legal and compliance issues. You want to avoid that at all costs. So if we're talking about that, we also can start to avoid legal issues such pay discrimination, wage disparity. And for employers also, a big thing is also to talk about compensation is about company culture. Because when you start to open these discussions, you contribute like in a positive way to the company culture where people feel valued uh, and they are recognized for the contributions. So have a lot of ways that we can keep talking about compensation, but I try to highlight some of the employee side and then employer side.
Right. And when we talk about incentives and compensation, I understand compensation is a part of the incentives you have, right? Do you have extra tools into this toolkit of for incentives other than complementing on compensation?
Yeah, so compensation, right, is a package that can go with salary, can go with wellness, training, like career development. I think everything depends how the company wants to structure and which direction, like you said, they want to go. Not one model fits all, but I think first the HR and the company to align where they want to go, what's the company ends with that, and then tailor taking in consideration their culture, the employees' needs, and put a plan that can align both sides, the employer and the employees as well. So example, in Falconi US, we have a mix of a package, right? We do wellness, we do training development, we do the salary, we do, so you want to mix to attract your top talent, but also to achieve company's performance.
Interesting. Okay. And how do you see the market trends on regarding compensation? What's new? What's trendy? Um, what have you seen of, news or novelty
Sure.
regarding compensation? Yeah.
So compensation is always a hot topic, right? And always also is changing because of legislation. So in a lot of states now legislation about pay transparency. So when you go some job postings, by state, you're legally obligated to disclose the salary range of that position. So that's a big topic and trend right now. There are a lot of companies, even if they're not in their states, they decide to take that in consideration as well. Because I think also help the person that's applying for the position know what the position's it's worth or it's paying, right? So that's a big one. I think it's on slide 2 where we list some of the topics like flexible and personalized compensation options. So a lot of people in companies nowadays, they're trying to tailor the compensation according to the employee needs and also the company's needs. So I haven't seen a lot of companies that it's kind of like a bucket and you can choose and put your compensation plan together. Also, a lot of emphasis in pay equity to avoid really the legal risks. So to be more inclusive, to have a pay structure to eliminate disparity based on gender, example, because back in the days, that was a big factor. And we see also, like we see a lot of companies, women get paid less than men. So with that's a big trend in a lot of companies to introduce tools to help to eliminate disparity based on gender, race, or other demographic like factors as well. Performance-based like on performance-based rewards also. A lot of companies are going back and moving towards to pay incentives or pay rewards according with their performance. And also the remote work. With the shift from COVID, people start to work everywhere. But we see the salary also change according to your location. And then people start getting paid in the same position, different locations, and we don't have, or we didn't have like a regulation for that. So what companies do in these situations? And each company decide their own, like how they want to do. But also other companies decide to go, you can live everywhere according to that state space, but other companies say this position pays this amount, doesn't matter where you're living at. So it's up to the company to decide what they're gonna do in that situation if they go with remote work, right? And also including a lot of wellness and development opportunities. Nowadays, we see that a lot of people really want to the life-work balance. And for that, that's when the wellness come in place. Flexible hours or flexible vacation or a more health package like benefit. And also you're going to see a lot of difference also in the new generation, the old generation, when maybe the old generation, they are more focused on the salary and retirement plans, while the new generation wants to know, can I work anywhere? Can I have more my gym membership? Can I have more flexible vacation time? So all this we need to take in consideration when we are putting like a compensation plan together.
I have so many questions here. Let's start by the first topic here, pay transparency. So on one side, pay transparency gives all of this these advantages that you mentioned, right? But on the flip side, how does that go with privacy issues? Because if you have paid transparency and someone gets that role, people automatically will know how much each person is earning. So the pay is not just for the role, like the person that is attached to that role will have its income public, right? How to deal with that? I mean, is that a problem to start with? And
I
if
think can
so,
be
how to deal with that? Yeah.
Sorry, I think can be a problem if companies do not have a really communication plan in place. So everything that you do, you also need to document that. So to have a pay transparency, like why are you paying that person that salary? What goes in their salary for the person receive that? And if it's an increase, what you need to do, not only the person, but also what others need to do to receive that increase. So all this needs to be clear and transparent so others know also how can I get to their salary. But of course, if it's a company that doesn't use these tools that are not transparent, they can create a lot of like issues and legal issues, and also with the team, like don't feel they're not valued, feel that things are not transparent. So can create a lot of like internal chaos too.
All right. Another topic that I really would like to deep dive. Could you go back a slide, please? Is the performance-based rewards, because this is the point where this is the nexus where we connect, right? Incentives and company performance or strategy
Mm-hmm.
execution, right? So pay per performance, right? I've seen companies that are very aggressive on that, and people can actually almost double their annual income based on performance, based on delivery of results, while other companies have that, but it's almost symbolic, right? And in many times it's almost automatic also. Like if the company is profitable, they pay something, but not necessarily connected to that person's delivery,
Performance.
right? How do you see this trend of first, is it a trend? It is a trend because it's here in your slide, right? Performance-based rewards. But does that trend vary from industry to industry or from organizational culture to organizational culture? How do you see this uh, moving forward, right? Is it focused on specific kinds of companies or not? It's general.
So I didn't see folks like in specific. Uh, when I was studying for this presentation, I was seeing that a lot of companies, between I think 70 to 8% of the US companies, they do reward based in performance. And they are going back, moving back towards the performance based compensation. However, in addition to that, also, it's also increasing the skill-based compensation reward. And what that means? It's like some positions or some expertise that's really needed for the job, and sometimes it's hard to get. And then you get reward for this expertise. So, example, I used to work in a place that we really need Spanish speakers, and was really hard to get the Spanish speaker, even though it was a position that also we needed English speakers, but then if we get a Spanish speaker, we'll pay a differential just because of for the language. So depend the type of your business and the strategy and that you want to achieve, and depend like you're hiring if it's really hard to get people. I know depending tech or management consulting, other type of companies, some skills are really valued that you can also put a plan together to maybe reward based skills. But everything, like I said, will depend the plan that the company put in place to achieve the results.
Yeah. I understand this is a balance between being able to recruit and maintain a team and
Correct.
align them with performance, right? Because if you pay for skills and not delivery, you may be creating a trap for the company, right?
Mm-hmm.
I do hire
Correct.
skills, but uh, the delivery is what counts, right? The delivery is what
Correct.
drives the results. Skills are means, deliveries are the results, right? Um, but I understand that if you don't pay for skills in certain segments, like technology, for example, you won't be able to attract people, right?
And retain. Correct. So
Yeah,
yeah,
how do you see this balance?
like I said, the skills like an addition and can be a tool to attract and retain employees. But like you said, the performance is going to be the end goal. Because also if the person has the skill but it's not performing, we're not achieving the company's results, right?
Mm.
So with that being said, like companies, and I see all the time, we need to be creative. How can we retain people? And that's why also we call trends, because now it can be a hot trend and tomorrow maybe it's not. So everything it would depend according to the industry, the economy that we're going. We just need to always be listening to the employees, what they need, and also what the company needs to achieve the end result.
All right. Well, if you let me, I'll stay on this slide for the whole webinar. So let's move on because we have other interesting topics, right? I'd like to tap onto your experience in what could go wrong, right? In implementing a compensation or an incentives package for the employees. What are cases that you've seen things go wrong, or what are the pitfalls that we should avoid? Right?
Oh, perfect. So I put here like a lot of things that can go wrong, but we don't need to focus on all of them. One of the things, like I put number one, is the pay inequity and legal risks. When people are not paid correctly, and they see, right, in the company, they all talk and more now have pay transparency, so everyone knows kind of where everyone is at. This can create a bad environment inside of the company because people then feel why this person get paid this and I'm not paid that. So if things are and create discrimination lawsuits and claims, one thing that the company doesn't want at all. So that's why it's so important to implement things, implement a compensation package that is right to the employee and to the company. Another thing is failure to comply with wage laws, such like minimum wage, overtime rules, pay transparency laws. This can lead to fines and legal challenge. And this is one of the things that companies don't want like at all. Number two, that I think for me is also really important is the lack of transparency and trust. If the employees don't trust on the company and they don't feel the company is transparent, they're not going to be motivated to work. And then doesn't matter which compensation plan you put in place, whatever you say, you're not going to gain that employee. So you're going to be just work like in circles and nothing's going to happen. But anything here, Guilherme, that you would like to touch bases on?
Uh, Misalignment with performance. I think this is a point, and also budgetary issues, because when you have incentives aligned with performance or in strategy, and you have a big emphasis on that, so the opposite of number three here, right? Overemphasis on salary and overemphasis on performance compensation. You may also face budgetary issues because there is short-term and long-term results based on strategy execution. So if people are aligned with strategy and implementing, and you're paying them for that, the results financially could come in the longer term, but the compensation comes in the shorter term, right? The
Yeah,
usually annual bonus, right? So I think these two are points that particularly interest me.
nice. So example, when they put here overemphasis on salary, example, some companies strictly focus on salary. What this can cause employees to not feel seen and heard. Because then you start feel more like a transactional operation. You work, I pay you. You work, I pay you. And then especially when we're talking about new generations, when they have more flexibility, more focus on wellness and other things, they can start feel unmotivated because like, I'm not seen, I'm not heard, like they don't see me. When you were talking about misalignment with performance, can go when the company does not really establish clear achievement and goals for the person to achieve his performance, when the communication is not really there and has a disalignment between the expectation of the company, the employer, and the person. So that can create like a issue for both sides. And then the compensation plan is not gonna work at all. And when, like you said, the budgetary issues, because sometimes when you just focus on salary and you want to pay the higher salaries and invest all in the rich compensation plan, but you also don't structure this for the future, it's really hard sometimes for you to keep up. And then when sometimes comes COVID or comes like economy situation, how are you going to keep up what you already giving to the employees? So this can come in the way to really maintain a good compensation and aligned also with the company's like objectives. So yeah, I agree with you. There really a lot of things can go wrong, but also has a lot of ways to revert like all this. But that was like the 10 ones that I see that can really um, get in the middle to put together a really compensation plan aligned with the company's performance.
I've seen in a few companies, more than I would like to, this misalignment with performance. So even keeping separate sets of KPIs, not using the performance, the corporate performance KPIs, but using a subset of KPIs, many times proposed or defined by their own person or by the person and its direct report, right? So you end up with a compensation package based on performance, but this performance is measured on KPIs and deliveries that are not really the corporate performance measurements, right? And so there's like a set of KPIs that HR follows up that are for the compensation packages, and another set of KPIs, strategic objectives and projects that come from strategy, but is managed in a different sector, in a different department in the company, and these two do not connect, right? This is something that I've seen a few times, and in my experience, it ends up by making the variable compensation program a cost and not an asset to drive people into generating better results or executing the strategy, but just an extra cost, right?
Correct.
And people, as they have so much input in what are the goals to be met, what are the KPIs, they're not coming from top down, from the strategy down. It's going from bottom up in many times. People start to expect that compensation, that variable compensation, which is completely non-productive, right? Because you have the program, so it will be variable based on results. But if people actually expect it, it becomes a demotivating factor, right? People are demotivated if they do not get the compensation. It's not
Correct.
something that drives them if there's this misalignment. Have you seen this happen in companies as well?
Yeah, I saw that a lot. People like the part that you're saying is we start expecting things, and that's I think when I put here number 10, the mismanagement of expectations. When you don't manage people's expectation well, then like you said, they start expecting, oh, I performed this year, I'm gonna get cheese. If I don't get it, then oh, didn't work. I worked well, I have to get it. Then they start looking for the things that they are not motivated to keep working. So I always think does need to have an alignment between the company's objectives, what the person needs to deliver, and manage their expectations well. Otherwise, goals here is one of the things that can really go wrong, because when people start to expect and they don't get, then they get frustrated, and frustration, it's a really difficult feeling to deal with a lot of the times.
Okay. Okay. Before I move to the other question, the next question, I'd just like to remind the spectators here that you can interact. Put in your comments or questions here in the chat, and we'll try to answer them throughout our talk. Right. So we would like to talk about what you want to know. So let us know what you want to know. Okay, Mariane, what does then a good compensation model looks like, right? And does one model fit all? Yeah, go.
Yeah, good question. So I put it here an example on the next slide, what a good compensation model would look like. Doesn't mean it's the perfect model, because one model does not fit all. But I did some research, and also with the experience I've been in different companies, I can structure here what would a good compensation model can look like, right? So to have a base salary, short-term incentives, like based on annual performance bonus or individual bonus. If we are like in the retail sector, like sales by commissions, long-term incentives like stock options, retention bonus, benefit and perks like health insurance, retirement plans, paid time off, learning development, non-financial rewards. It's also part of a compensation plan, like recognition programs, career development. This is not a model that will fit for all companies, and doesn't mean that's the perfect model either. But according to the research that I did, and also the experience, I think this will be a good model that we can apply and kind of tweak if we see that doesn't fit in one area, we can tweak a little bit. So also it can be a flexible model.
Right. So out of all of these tools, right, into the toolkit that you can use in generating the compensation model, which ones are more effective in aligning people's efforts for corporate performance? Because I understand that some here are very cultural based, like to direct a culture or just to give people security or retention, right? And all of this is needed, like health insurance, retirement plans. But retirement plans doesn't help people put their efforts where the company needs it at that moment for particular strategy or for just driving performance, right? And reaching KPI goals on their KPIs. Which one of these do you think are more useful for alignment with company performance and strategy execution?
So every time someone asks me like a direct question, I always go like, and I say technically, right? Because it's so hard to give like a straight answer about this, because one model does not fit all.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree, depend of the type of employees that you have and the type of culture that you have. So I had companies that I worked with that they really folks driven and flexible work and work-life balance. For that particular company, maybe if I put just focus on salary or say retention bonus, this would not work because what they really want was more vacation time, was be able to work remote, was able to uh, have more learning and development like opportunities. I think we really need to study. Besides, also the company has the goals and they know what the employee needs to do and perform, but the company also needs to learn what the employee wants to be able to offer the right compensation package. We are all different and we are all like in different also generations. So sometimes it's really hard to put everyone in a box. And that's why on the trends we saw have companies that really came out of the box to give the employee the flexibility for them to choose their benefit, the compensation package. So that's hard for me to say which one. Also depend on the industry. So, example, if you are in the sales industry, in a retail example, commission can work really well because you work for commission, get motivated to sell more. You know you're gonna get paid more. But maybe in another type of industry doesn't work. Maybe in IT tech can work based on the skills base. Like you have a different skills, learning development. They want to learn, get the different skills and get more compensated on that. But maybe in other industry doesn't really going to work. So each person needs to study the industry they are in, and also the employees that they have and what they want to kind of coordinate with the company strategy.
Interesting. So the takeaway is one model does not fit all, right?
Not at all.
Can you give us examples of industries that tend to one type of model or another, or even I imagine this will vary throughout the stage of growth for a company. For example, startups may use a lot more, stock option and or restricted stock options, while a very mature company and a very stable market may use, different incentives.
Yeah.
So from industry to industry, let me try to put this question in a way like imagine technology industry, right? Very dynamic, very people based compared to maybe oil industry, very capital intensive and machinery and investments. Uh, how would the model differentiate, between these two industries or from a startup to a well-established company, right? How do models differentiate from those types of companies as well?
Sure. In slide 5, I put like a few examples that we can talk about. And like you said, one is like industry differences. So in a high tech versus a traditional industry. So yeah, like you said, in technology or startups, compensation often includes like stock options, performance incentives tied to innovation and rapid growth. But in traditional industries like manufacturing, they may emphasize in steady salaries, union negotiated wages, longevity based rewards. Another example is like consulting versus retail. In consulting, might be focused on billable hours, client development, performance based bonus, whereas like retail may rely on hourly wage, sales commission, bonus for meeting sales target. This is just one of the examples that I can give. If we go to organization size and structure example, a small versus a large company. A smaller company or startup may rely more on equity, compensation, and flexible perks due to the limited like cash flow. While large organizations, they can offer more comprehensive package benefits, higher salaries and bonus, and have also more structured bonus. Flat or hierarchical organizations, example. In a flat organization where promotions are limited, companies may offer a different mix of compensation, focus more on skills development and flexible benefits rather than hierarchical pay structures. So I have a lot of ways that you can play around and tweak a compensation package according to your organization. So another thing that we can take in consideration, like geographic location. So geographic location, you can go from state space different. So some companies going to pay according to the state that we are in. Sometimes from global considerations, you come if already depend of the company with a structured salary that doesn't matter where you live, you're going to get paid that amount. And here also I put other examples that we can talk about, like why one model doesn't fit all.
All right. Yeah. Very interesting, and it's very flexible, right? And how you can align these parts into creating a model for a particular scenario, right? But I imagine that implementing these models, one thing is to create the model, right, and idealize it. The other one is to make it happen in practice, right? What are the challenges in implementing these models in the companies?
The challenge is a lot of times people don't like change, right? That sometimes people are really resistant to change. Sometimes budgetary issues. A lot of companies cannot afford a lot of like softwares or a lot of things to implement modules like this. Sometimes it's a lot of resistance, like even on the high up on the company to really change. But technology can help in a lot of ways and can bring a lot of ways, and doesn't always need to be expensive, right? To have a lot of ways and a lot of tools that you can implement also to help the company to tailor a package that benefits the end goal.
All right. And you have a bunch of yeah, of ways technology can support, right?
I did my research.
Yeah, I see that. Let me put my two cents in as well. When you create a variable pay incentive program, there are some operational issues that can hinder the program or even make it impossible to manage, right? So depending on the size of the companies, the number of, if you create like a performance-based compensation, the number of KPIs you're going to have to follow up and calculate the score for each employee and give them feedback in a way that they can actually, gauge their performance and especially realign their efforts. To do all that is very man-hour intensive, right? Because you have to collect all the information, consolidate that, and give back the feedback, right, of how each one is doing. Plus, all of this is the workflow, the steady workflow. But in practice, this workflow is a lot more turbulent than that, right? Because people change roles, throughout the year. So they start with one expectation of delivery, but throughout the year they got promoted, they changed to areas, or people came in, or people went out, and you have to maintain this compensation throughout the year. So that's also a big challenge that I see that, well, technology can help. And just giving the feedback to people, right? Because
Yeah.
I see, and I'd like your vision on that as well. I see that many programs inform how people went once a year when the year is done, right? So you have a variable compensation program. You have goals aligned from the get-go, from the beginning of the year, but you don't give feedback throughout the year. And at the end of the year, the employee will have a surprise. Good
Correct.
surprise or a bad surprise, but it's something that he didn't manage throughout the year because it's so work intensive to collect all the KPIs, compile everything, and give the feedback that many companies don't do that. But
That's
when the
true.
employee receives his score, the year is done. You know, there's nothing he can do anymore to change the past, right? So
And then he
that
cannot fix, right? He cannot change his behavior, fix to improve because, like you said, the year is already done.
is already done. So this constant feedback and communication of how everybody's doing, my understanding is that it's critical for the success of the program. Have you seen situations like this, Mariani, that they do have a program, it is well aligned in the beginning, but because of operational demands on keeping the program running throughout the year, they only inform by the end of the year what the bonus is?
Yeah. And you'll be surprised like how many companies, right, use this approach. Sometimes can be because we are constant changing. Maybe the needs of the company employees always constant change. It's hard to keep up. And sometimes also it's hard for HR to be in constant with everybody to help to have this constant like feedbacks. But yeah, the ideal model would be one that you could in the middle adjust, put together the not the new path, but adjust that path and continue going so the person has the opportunity to always align and keep aligning
Yeah,
with the company goals and keep improving. Because yes, and just waiting the end for someone to improve or tell them they didn't do good or not did it good, it's not the best, it's not a good way to help someone to grow and develop.
yeah. So I took the liberty to pull the screen here so I can share my screen and show an example of our software of how this could be aligned, right? So I'm going to do this very quickly so we can still get a couple of questions in. Um, so here I'm seeing a strategic map, right? And from this strategic map, I can check the performance of strategic objectives and drill down into the KPIs and projects behind these strategic objectives, right? So I clicked here on a KPI, sorry, on an objective, add value to the shareholder. I have KPIs and project portfolios connected to this objective. And these KPIs, well, you'll be able to drill them down all the way to operational level. I'm seeing here some risks, right? And all the KPIs and projects are connected. But this is a very corporate performance perspective, right? So how well is the company doing? But this is also connected to the goal cards, individual goal cards, where each person will see their contribution to the execution of the strategy or to this performance, right? So I'm seeing my goal card here with my score and why my score is like this. So I can see like the KPIs, the weights of each KPI into my score. How am I doing? So I can see like month by month and accumulated values. How many points did I get because of that performance and my total score. And also I can see, everybody that is a direct report to me. So I can see all of my team, how they're going and why are they performing in that way, right? So I'm seeing all of their scores and their goal cards. This ensures the alignment of this person's compensation with the strategy and with performance and that feedback that we talked about, right? Where people will be able to come here, see how they're doing and why are they doing that way, good or bad, and also manage their efforts toward maximizing their compensation, and while doing so, automatically aligning themselves to corporate performance, to strategy, corporate strategy, right? So I just wanted really quick to give a glimpse of how technology can help this. And let's just reminder, whoever wants the certificate of attendance, please click on the link in the chat here. And let's go to Slido, see what questions do we have there. So we have a few questions. Let me read them, and Mariane, I'll count on you helping answer them, right? What is the best way to raise awareness within the company about the relevance of strategy and culture in building solid results?
In my opinion, I think one of the big things, communication, is to be really clear and transparent. To raise awareness, you need to really communicate. You need to go to the level of your employees so they can understand what you're talking about. So regular meetings, focus groups, you can do, we call it Falconi kumbukas. So everything that you can put your employees together and talk about the subject. So you also can understand how they think and what are their questions. Because sometimes we want to talk, but we also don't listen. So we need to start also listening to understand, are they understanding what I'm talking about? The communication is getting there clear. So I think it's important to give the space for the employees also to talk.
Right. Communication, and communication, right? Next question here. Can you give practical example to connect companies' strategic KPIs to individual performance-based incentives? I drilled through an example, it was really quick on the software, but on that example, we did that, right? We went from the strategy, the company strategy that was in this example, a strategic map using balanced scorecard model, and clicked on one objective, saw the KPIs of that, still very high level KPIs, but I opened it down at the cascading throughout the company, all the way to the more operational KPIs that would be part of people's scorecards, right? So we should have one single KPI structure, connected structure, to ensure that this company's strategic KPIs and the incentive-based KPIs are connected, right? That's how you should do it. Mariane, any compliments here?
No, I really like the way that you put in how you show. I think it's more practical because here we can be talking and sometimes it's good when you're showing. So I like the way that you put it.
All right. We talked a bit about trends already, so I'm gonna skip this one. And last question, what advice would you give to a company just implementing an incentive program?
I believe first to implement an incentive program, you need to try to find out if the incentive program it's really what the employees are looking for. And sometimes we want to give employees things, but it's really what they want or what they need. And there you're already a little bit ahead for this program to be successful. Second, it's how you communicate and trickle this program down. How you're going to communicate this, how you're going to really make them use this, take advantage of this, what channels you're going to use for this. So have a lot of ways that you can do it, and also always get feedback if it's working, if they're liking, if it's meeting their needs, so you can keep building on top of this.
So listen to your client, in this case, the employee, right? And constantly communicate.
Communicate.
Mariane, thank you very much for your participation. I'm sorry we didn't get to address all of the questions. There were some other very interesting questions here, but hopefully we'll interact more in future webinars.
Oh, thank you so much, Guilherme, for the opportunity. I'm not like a expert actress in this subject, but it's a subject that I love and I'm passionate about, compensation. And I'm really like to discuss about employees and always how we can improve. And I think this topic is really relevant. So thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you all for participating. See you in the next webinar.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.